During the Kickstarter campaign, the devs said they are not gonna make a back-in-action garbage. Well, I'm glad they delivered, and made a game about on par with Jagged Alliance 3, quality-wise. When it came out, the reception was not very enthusiastic, so I've never even tried it before. At this point, the abysmal back-in-action has very positive ratings on Steam and this one very negative ratings. But Steam is a grift DRM. In reality, the 700 scores are split in the middle, but Steam claims there are only 400 scores and they are all negative. And it shows only negative reviews, unless you manually pick the option to show only the positive ones. I have no idea in which state the game was released 10 years ago. I only judge the game as it is present on the store today, version 1.1.3 RC2-14135. I played many games with turn-based tactics combat to get my Fallout 2 UFO, Silent Storm, Jagged Alliance 2 fix, including the literal Fallout clones like Atom and Underrail, and I got bored of them all. But this is the core mechanics of Jagged Alliance. It's a low-budget, low-poly extra indie game, which has a shallower mechanical depth than even the first game. But the action of calculating time units, pointing at the enemy, and shooting it, is present and executed the way it should be. The turn-based combat is actually enjoyable. Webbing vests from the first game make their return, but now they add quick slots instead of inventory slots. They go into the armor slot and barely offer any protection. There are some armors with additional slots, but the best armors per tier have no slots. You have to choose between having more quick slots or more protection. Quick slots are not necessary, you still have 2 weapons on the ready, but the quick slots make mercs more versatile, like having a night vision weapon, a day vision weapon, a pistol, a knife, an energy consumable and bandages, to be ready for every opportunity. Or 6 grenades, or a pistol and 5 AP restoring consumables. And that was not a joke. In this game, pistols are not a joke. You could build your character around silenced dual wielding in the second game, which was limited to SMGs and pistols, but why bother? Pistols are absolutely useless in BIA. Pistols are absolutely useless in JA3. But here, having a pistol on the ready is a great idea. Their accuracy drops hard, but they use barely any AP. If an enemy is 2 squares away from you, you can make 1 or 2 inaccurate shots with your rifle. You can get up and run to the enemy with your knife only to miss, or you can pull out your pistol, or a sawed-off Mosin, and put your entire magazine into the enemy without missing. Or, well, make 1 shot with the rifle and 1 shot from a pistol with remaining AP. And pistols use different ammo, which is plentiful. The drop rates are very low, so you are not drowned in ammo until the very end. The smart thing to do is for everyone in squad to use different calibers. For a game even less realistic than JA2, that's a pretty good solution. Shotguns are very good too. With this game's armor formula, they are not useless. They can deal damage on short distances and their presentation is very enjoyable. The combination of the visual and audio feedback make them feel like the shotguns from early FPS.
Not bad. Not bad.
Birdshot not being able to penetrate armor is realistic, and works fine in JA2 where you can drain enemies' energy with it. Also, there were bugs in Tigers, but in less good games like JA3 and BIA, shotguns are useless. The tactical combat is built around spotters like in UFO. If one merc sees an enemy, everyone else with a line of sight can shoot it. JA2 is built around individual line of sight. The hearing system in Flashback is pretty good too. JA2 had useless text lines with no compass for its diagonal grid. Silent Storm has outlines you could shoot. If enemy was standing, it was basically as good as seeing. But here you have an indicator of direction of noise. If it's heard by 3 mercs, boom, visual triangulation. The game displays your chance to hit in percent, and it is very good. In these third-person games, your mercs can see what they can see, but you don't. Mercs telling you their estimation is a proper GUI. Maybe there's a half a wall between the gun and the target, making it a 50% chance to hit, but from your view up high you don't see it, which is especially bad in games with uneven terrain and no graphics to convey it, like BIA and Jazz. Good and bad JA games have bias towards Rambo chars with one playstyle. The rest of the squad is support for hairy situations, but this game balances everything for the whole team, and while almost all aspects of it are balanced, I did not find much use only for grenades and energy consumables, and I traditionally did hoard AP refillers for a rainy day, until I just won. Instead of proper UFO reaction fire, or JA2 interrupt, you have to manually set Overwatch for every merc, but at least they do not cancel it every turn like in JA3. Mercs will remember their orders unless you interrupt them. There's some destruction in the game, but it's weird and not graphical. You can destroy a wall and not even notice it, it just disappears. I didn't expect that this game has influenced Jagged Alliance 3. Your squads have unlimited inventory, inaccessible during the combat. But it's done way better here. Instead of cluttering your inventory with trash, while magically taking ammo out of squad's magic trunk, you manage ammo and consumables in merc's inventory, but have the magic trunk for all the clutter to haul between the sectors. The GUI is not the best, well maybe it's kinda somewhat bad, but it's not unusable. And not just for the inventory but everywhere in the game. If you have two squads in the same sector you can't transfer items between them. You have to pull a merc from each and use one as a courier. The inventory window is tiny and only 2 rows tall. There are some filtries, but some categories of items are present in every filtry. The guns have actual slots for physical modifications, which you can take out and put on other guns, but they don't stack and invade all the filtries. Consumables don't stack either, despite being single-use objects. Digging for the quest items is really annoying. If you want to move several things from the third page, your position resets to the first page every time you pick one thing. Hiring is not very convenient, but mercs teleport into squads instead of arriving in airports. The GUI for operations, like repair, heal and train militia is not obvious. The fights in this game are shorter and against fewer enemies. I would say they are a bit too short when you attack a new sector. Still better than having 6 to 12 dudes defeating 100 fully equipped enemies. But for defense having any more enemies would be really annoying. Defense is generally the worst part of Jagged Alliances. That's why you barely have any in UFO. That's why they utterly killed Phoenix Point and made BIA even worse. JA2 take on the problem was kinda balanced, but if you got attacked while you were in a sector with militia you could only groan for hours, which the battle would take. The solution in this game is weird. Militia strong. Like, really strong. A sector full of militia is basically undefeatable. And if you happen to be in the attack sector, first the enemies would attack militia, leaving you alone. But it takes a very long time to train just one guy, and until you have more guys than in enemy squads, they will be killed over and over and over, leading to your trainers manually defending the sector, again. The game doesn't save your position, but you are usually spawned in a fairly defended spot somewhere in the middle of the map. The game never stops sending more patrols, so the most reliable way to defend a spot is to use the secondary squad to train militia, and use the primary one to intercept all the patrols before they reach the sector in question. I think the sectors are of a limited amount and I think they are all unique in this game, for what it's worth, and there are unmarked points of interest in some of them. Like UFO and Silent Storm, the game doesn't have the sleep mechanics, so you can travel freely. Some of the side quests are not tracked, like it's an adventure game. You really have to solve these in your head and not forget about them. Destroying AA guns provides no positive feedback until you've finished all 4 of them. Getting all the pieces of the treasure map doesn't have any feedback either. Quest items always need to be in the hands of the merc that is talking to NPCs to count. You can fail the gun delivery quest if you forgot to put the gun in the talking merc's inventory, because the game doesn't offer an option to talk again, only to confess to stealing and fail the quest. Flashback uses gamey fake names for the guns, and not just for the brands and models. They also renamed Obres, which isn't a proper noun but a form factor and can be made from literally any gun with a hacksaw, to the Obres. PPShy uses 7.62 by 39 instead of 7.62 by 25. I think you can find more inaccuracies, but I didn't notice any more, especially because of the already fake gamey names of the guns. The story is pretty generic for the series. Hire guns, kill the dictator. Jagged Alliance 2 just doesn't let the developers who touch the IP to sleep at nights. The first game has a way more deep story with no dictators or deposed rulers. Pure corporate war. As a prequel, this is all the same Predestination, with guys from the future somehow involved in this game. This is the homeland of Vicky from the first game. You can hire Buns who first appeared in the second game. At least not all of the mercs are on the island. At least there are no memes about Arolco. At least no Elliots. The thing goes, some island nation starts to peddle drugs, so Yankistan decides to intervene and support the local uprising with CIA operatives. It didn't go as planned, so only one custom CIA operative, not related to any other games in the series, has survived. They organized a new, more successful uprising with the help of mercenaries hired from somewhere that is not the internet. After the despot is deposed, he somehow makes everyone involved look bad in a convoluted scheme, which I don't think is plausible. So the leaders of the first uprising flee to Europe, do some shady things and organize AIM from the first game. Or not, because you can find Dehonko flakes, which means this is the BIA continuity. The game gives a rather bad first impression. The main menu is ugly as hell and looks like absolute garbage. If you get bad weather when you start the game, it looks pretty bad too. But when you get a sunny day, the game is actually not that ugly, and you will get used to the graphics after a time. The camera is rather bad. Instead of a free adjustable camera, it has only 4 positions, like XSOM, and the stupid lowering curve. It's used so often in this damned industry, as if all the devs think it's actually somehow good. Not only it's annoying, the trees and other tall things obscure your vision. Most of the voices are recycled from BIA and I think from somewhere else, because I've heard some phrases which I don't think are from BIA. The stereo separation is losing its mind. When the mercs are right of center, their voices can come out of the left channel exclusively. In my 50 hours I've encountered no bugs or crashes. The achievements are working, but they aren't too fun. A half you just get by playing the game. For the other half you have to grind, repeating the same stupid actions, like harming your squad with a grenade then bandaging everyone. Jagged Alliance Flashback has better controls, better graphics, and even better GUI than the first game, but way less depth. In some sense it's even shallower than BIA. But it is a real proper turn-based tactics game any way you rotate it, and it is representative of the core Jagged Alliance gameplay, unlike BIA and JA3.